Yeah. What I'm going to try and do tonight, guys, my background is ex-PE teacher, coached at various levels, including international level, down to, you know, currently coaching under 16s and under 14s. What I'm going to try and do today is give you perhaps a little bit of my philosophy when I was coaching schoolboy rugby 10, 15 years ago. I think the game revolves, it doesn't evolve. I think it revolves, and stuff that comes, that we were using 15, 20 years ago comes back into the game. You've got a lot of block plays now, you've got a lot of people playing up front because the referees have changed their rules, so you can fix plays in a different way. 5 seasons ago you've been penalised every time the ball went behind the runner. So what I'm trying to say, I don't think the game continues to evolve to another level. It has physically, without a doubt, at the top end of the game. I think from my time as a school teacher 20, 25 years ago, I'm still seeing the key principles that are being or not being applied. And that is my concern at youth level, particularly in Hong Kong, because I'm coaching in the 16 level at the moment. So basic things, I'm going to deal with a few things tonight. The things like technical backline play, how a backline speeds up as it goes from 10 to 12 and so to understand the mechanics of a backline and how forwards struggle to keep up with it, where I believe that control should come from in a youth game. So I'm going to really orientate it towards building a platform for your younger kids and perhaps look at the balance as well of what you're delivering under 14s if you're coaching under 14s or under 13s compared to perhaps 19s. And please come in, because some of you have got, don't agree with that, that's rubbish. I hope you will, and ask me and challenge me. Because I'm going to look at the game a little bit differently. I don't really want to put the introduction up in terms of... So just a few questions to start off, really. The mystery of youth coaching. I firmly believe, particularly in Hong Kong, a high percentage of coaches coach the way they were coached. So depending on if you've coached before, or depending if you've played before, you probably, and it's not a criticism, you probably will relate what you did. If you're playing community rugby, you'll bring that to the coaching session. If you're playing elite rugby, you'll bring that to the coaching session. And perhaps there's a lack of flexibility in game understanding and child development. And as a result, what I tend to see is, I guess, regurgitating stuff that maybe you did for Valley Fourths when your coach was 10 years ago. And we lack that innovation. I'm not saying you guys in here because you were dedicated in your year tonight. I'm talking about in general. We see a lot of static and a lot of delivery from yesteryear. So I'm just asking a few questions. How do I coach youth rugby? Do I just turn up and coach the way I was coached at the club or school that I was at? What's the difference between under 14s, 16s and 19s? Perhaps somebody in the room would say, well, none. It's flipping massive, in my opinion. And we failed to address that. So we do lots of, and I'll come into that. How do we build a game structure? At what age can a kid take on board what a game structure is? I would say 15, 16. So why am I seeing 13-year-olds being put in a specific place and please run there in our next game? So when can we actually start to actually physically talk to them about game structure, or should we embed it in our practices so that they don't know they're learning that? So again, I'll touch on that. What skills do we need to coach? It's pretty obvious, isn't it, to a lot of people, but we do pass. It's how we coach those skills. What skills do we need? Passing, tackling. At what age do we need those? Do we need to be big tacklers, big ball carriers when we're 12, 13, 14 years of age? Or do we need the generic skills like handling and being able to pass the ball? How many kids in your teams can you hear now at 13, 14? Oh, coach, come on, let's play a game. I want to run, I want to dodge, I want to bump people off. And in actual fact, they can't string 2 passes together. So again, kids want to sort of emulate perhaps stuff that they see on the TV without having the fundamentals. And how do we engage the players, particularly from 13, 14? And this is a huge problem in Hong Kong. We probably got one of the largest, or the worst retention figures, particularly within the game if you compare us to league nations. Here we have similar drop-off points, like movement from primary school to high school, or from GCSE years, or to university. But couple that in with a tiny playing population we have is having a huge effect on our senior game. My prediction at the community end of the game at the moment, if we keep going the way we do and don't keep kids in the game till they're 90 and transition them into the senior game, our community game's going to die. It really is, because we've lost a lot of feeder areas for our senior game, which was expats coming in, police force, etc., etc. We haven't replaced it. Because a lot of our expat kids now leave at 19, 20 to go to university, and we're now bringing the local Chinese community through the senior end of the game. So we have got real issues in terms of retention as we go through the games. But I'm here to talk coaching with you today. And which players do we select? So just to you know, how do I coach? And you may have seen this phrase in different ways. We call it the 3 M's, a micro, mini and macro. And what do I mean by micro, mini and macro? You've used them probably as terms in various business senses or even coaching. So with the micro, I'm talking individual skills, passing, footwork, and I'll come on. And then mini, so let's just move it on to that. So again, not rocket science. In terms of, so when I'm talking about the 3 M's, I'm talking about passing, tackling, kicking, the individual stuff. The mini stuff, meaning how do we coach the 3-man scrum, the 5-man scrum, how do we build the scrum, all stuff you'd have done with Steve. How do we develop the line out at under 14s, how do we develop lifting safely, how do we coach that. Midfield 3, back 3 development, and then team dynamics. I think the combination of all these, the 3 is the secret to a youth coach is how you actually embed them within each other. And what I see a lot of happening is that it's easy to set up passing drills and the kids get bored very quickly. And then it's easy to go off and do a few scrums and put a front row against a front row. But how exciting is that for a 13-year-old kid or a 14-year-old kid? But I say week in, week out, put against a scrimmage machine. Yes, we've got to be safe. Of course we are when we are coaching these, but in the same respect as well, we've got to make it fun. So how do we make it fun? How do we sort of coach all these areas and make it fun in on-con for kids between 12 and 19 years of age, while also developing them as individuals? It's a huge challenge. So first of all, let me look at training balance. Time to just have a quick look at that. And any thoughts or comments? What I've got here is just, again, based on the 3 M's, that's all I'm saying is perhaps there's a difference between under 14s, 16s and 18s in terms of where they are as development. Would you agree with that? Or would? So, as they come out the minis, or in high school, and they've got a lot of fundamentals got to be done on the micro, less done on the mini, in terms of perhaps an hour section, talking sessions now, sorry, not expands, go ahead.
Ty, I'm surprised that's not even more skewed. The under 14 would be, 60% micro, another 30% mini, and even smaller percentage on the overall macro.
Yeah. So, I think if I'm dealing now with 12-year-olds, so I'm dealing with 30, I'm dealing with coats, I'm not dealing with minis. Yeah. So I'm focusing on that. So if I went down to under 12s, I'm looking at the blue being further up in terms of skill development. So I wouldn't disagree with you, and these are rough guidelines to where my sessions go in terms of split. Any thoughts on that? Could I ask how you, when you see that, to a lot that's a traditional model? Would you agree?
I think this is not only depends on the age, but also of what level of those players.
Great. Yeah. So, in a natural player development, long-term player development spectrum, you're right. But within the local, that's a great observation, right? Is that in the Chinese community they might come to rugby later, so you might get I know the guys, but in general, in the rugby, in the Chinese rugby community, the kids come to the game and they haven't got a training age. So they might not be a traditional under 14, but they'll enter a club that will coach them exactly the same. So are you making those adjustments for ability? What do you see when you see the blue areas? Give me quick answers. What do you see in that blue area? What's your session like there? Catching back. How does it look? Is it drill orientated?
Many games.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. In the traditional sense, most people see the blue areas drills, pass. So, would you agree? And I can see it down at Football Club Valley, I can see it down at... I can see it.
It's skills, and then you apply it in a small game situation where they're competing, right? So do the base skills look like it's, you go in, you do the present, so like 3-on-3, just the skill, and then you say, okay, well,
Yeah.
apply it to a bigger side of game, and then you break back to do another skill. Otherwise it gets too boring, like you do.
Agree with you. So, absolutely, totally. You know, what I'm doing here, I'm actually putting a model up. So this is Steve's, if you've been on the courses, it's like we warm up, then you have some drills and skills, and then you move on to small sided games, and then you expand it. Would you agree, Steve? That's your rough lesson plan, coaching plan, isn't it? What I'm going to say here, and I'm only pulling it out, Ping is right. Sorry, don't you? Chris, sorry. Chris is spot on. People see it as static, too often static, boring movements. A 13-year-old kid does not want to spend, if he's at Europe on a Sunday morning for an hour and a half, he doesn't want to spend, and I've seen it still now on the weekends in the valley and around, he doesn't want to spend the first 45, 50 minutes just doing up and down passing drills. Does that make sense? You can develop all the micro skills through games. So micro skill doesn't actually mean you can't do games. What's wrong with a warm-up, passing in any direction for handling ability and a bit of fun? Passing in any direction, which Steve would have put in you in terms of warm-ups. The point I'm making is that it's the emphasis. So it isn't the actual structure, it's the emphasis of what your sessions are on at a particular age. That's all I'm saying. Now, in the same respect, I often see this down here where they've done a bit, and then they spend the next hour and a half having a scrum and going to the next ruck. Because Saturday we're playing. So Saturday we're playing. But for me, trying to teach game understanding, I'd probably, on this one, the green is way too big. Just play. Just games for understanding. Just play and put the structure in through play. Even at 16s. As soon as you slow them down and try and place them in a particular spot in terms of game understanding. So look at it, it's you probably actually made those green areas a bit too big for those age groups. Am I making sense, guys, in terms of how you break it down? Not session content, but a challenging within those, in the session balance, to focus in on the content and how you develop the skill. And please go to games, rather than drill. Kids love games, even relays, you know, competition, fun and competition. So there's the balance. Okay, so where I'm going to bounce around now, I've just picked a couple of different themes that I feel are the top areas that I'd like just to share with you in terms of real basic stuff and specific stuff that I'm seeing perhaps not happening, and even challenge your thought process. Player ID, talent identification. So I've stood there, I'm looking, they all arrived from summer break. And if you're like me and like I was brought up, you go in, right, he's a prop, definitely. 2 stone overweight and he can run around the field. Or he's small, so he'll be 9. Or he's tall and long, so he's going to be a second row. So I wanted to try and get out of that mindset. Would that be the general gist of most teams and coaches that would go about? So I'm going to go that I believe that have a look at and some play around with this. I believe that you make a team up of 4 kinds of people, or 4 kinds of categories. Playmaker, playmakers, plural, finishers or penetrators, ball winners, ball carriers. For me then, guys, you start to look at their qualities, not boxing them based on their physique or the way they've turned up or the way mum and dad wants them to play, or their dad was a scrum half, or they're tall and they got to be can be a winger if they're 6'2", they must be a second row. Any thoughts on that? Does that make sense? I'll go into what I mean by each one, but I'm challenging you now at youth level to actually categorise your players into 4 categories. Well, that might be right, might be wrong, it might not be for you. So I'm hoping you now, look, thinking of the teams you're coaching, so you'll have playmakers at the forwards, you'll have playmakers at the backs. So you could have the half backs, which you'd hope would be playmakers, but you could have full back with chops, you need and call plays. Then you could have a hooker or a decent prop or a back row forward. They can all be playmakers. If you identify them, then you can coach them. All too often, and I've seen it over the last couple of years with the teams that I've been involved with, if we don't identify them and manage them, they start to dominate the game. So 5 or 6 kids will touch the ball in a training session because they'll dominate it. Or 5 or 6 kids on a Saturday. So the big dominant forward who thinks he's a playmaker will run between 9 and 10 every flipping ruck and carry it up. Things laughing because he knows what I'm talking about. So identify them, then I think you can work with them and coach them. But too often we don't address it. We don't address it with the kids and we don't address it with the parents.
So I presume that's for coaching, so, but when you come to game day, you're going to have to pick a 1 to 15 to start, and then they will then go into positions, so you probably typically would put 6'2" as a lock. So you're going to do that anyway, so this is just for coaching, you're saying?
No, I'm saying this is a blend, it's a selection as well.
Right.
So, yeah, as they grow from 13 to 19, every team is a blend of this. I'm looking at Ben now as an elite player. I could probably go through the first 15 and I could probably cap the national squad if you're playing with him. You probably could categorise most of the players in terms of those and where they are.
Yeah, we could that.
Even if there's a 6 foot, 6'2" or 6'3" guy like Max Denmark on the wing, he's a finisher and penetrator. So you're right. The point I'm making is we develop. We shouldn't say that he's a prop and he'll never be anything else. You all see the kids coming back, particularly between 13 and 16, and they grow 6 inches in the summer, and they be a centre all their life, so they'll stay in the centre. Oh, hang on now, he's a ball getter. So what I'm trying to do now is trying to reverse it and have a look at your squads and look at your teams, and if you categorise them into them, maybe they won't fall fit into the same position. And what is the point in having, you're going to say this, 8 playmakers on the field, even though they're the best players? Oh, there's a challenge, isn't it? So how many of you have got 5 scrum halves and all the parents want them to start at 9 and they don't want to play in other positions? You're all laughing. We've all got the same. They come and from 10 years of age they've been a scrum half and you've got 4 in the squad and they won't play on the wing or they won't play. So if you start to categorise them like this, well, you're a back penetrator, you're quite quick. But so perhaps use it as well to manage the parents and the squad. Just some thoughts, guys. And this is, if I quickly go through, and please come in. So, So that's what I'm looking at playmaker. So I'm starting to look at characteristics in a playmaker. Controller, communicator, team coordinator, ability to see and play space, implementation of, he's not selfish, he's a team player. Kids live together, ball in hand, and particularly at 13, 14, 15 years of age, the dominant players dominate and will handle the ball 20 times in a game where your wingers are not getting a pass. So start to manage the playmakers, creating space, play runners. They're big players. I think you can have, in a youth team, about 6 of them. Half backs, back row, maybe a hooker looking after the set piece, and then somebody in the back three getting organised. And then you develop those as your game understanders and your on-field coaches. That's where your playmakers are. So it isn't just, it's often referred to as playmaker, it's often is referred to as the half backs. Finishers and penetrators, 1v1 attacking skills. So it's just characteristics. Acceleration into space, retaining team width, control depth, positive attack note. Again, this can be back or forwards out in the midfield, running off 10. So I keep saying these things to make sure you're not categorising these into wingers now. So they can be forwards. You can have a big second row, it's particularly athletic. And incidentally, you see him as you finish it. Sorry, Nelson, not a good example, ball carrying. But you could have finishers. You could have finishers at number 8. picking up at the base, quick off the base. So Max Denmark started, is number 8, playing on the wing now. Okay, I guess Steve will send these out so that you can get the ball winner, bounce tackle skills, so that's tackling, get up, back over, ball winner, jackal situation, offensive tackles, good tacklists for ball winners, ground skills, jackal, win space, ball support player, retention of the width of the ball carrier, tackle assists. Ball winner as well, of course it could be a tight head, because you need a good tight head to secure your scrum. You need a hooker that can strike. So again, obviously then you start to bring your positions in. But ball winners around the field. Your tall second rows, good off the floor, who can be held up there. Good lifters in the line-out, good lifting skills, or ball winners. And then your ball carriers, positive carrying defence, ball retention, doesn't get it knocked out of his grasp. Got good hands, run space, corrected lines, etc., etc. So I'm just giving you some concepts and ideas, and this is more information, so don't want to get too bogged down in information. I'll get into some footage. Are you okay with that? So that's just to help you think and can reconsider how you approach. Now I'm going to go into some specifics now. So back 3 positioning. Go on, I'm going to put everyone on the spot. Oh, not the. We're coaching your fullback and wingers, Chris. Where would you tell your fullback to stand in defence? Would you coach that? Would you talk to him about it?
The near side winger moves up in the fullback, drops back into the winger.
Great. Any other thoughts? Mark, put you on the spot. What would you say to your fullbacks?
They don't even play?
In general, have you got reference points? Let me put the questions on. I want us to start becoming. Building a 15 is understanding. So we're talking about the mini macro, so I'm not going to go into this because it becomes so. Where you've got, Chris, is section stage 2 at the moment. That's why I mean it's not a criticism, so you're talking about the winger. I'm talking now under 14, under 16. I said this to an international Mark played with, and he couldn't answer me. Where do you stand in defence as a fullback? This is about 6-7 years ago.
You stay in line with the ball, right? Roughly?
Go on.
At that sort of age, as long as they're staying in line with the ball. So as you attack passing the ball across the field, if he's sweeping, roughly staying in line with the ball.
So you've got a reference point with the ball, yeah? You're using where the ball is in the opposition. So as I've gone on to say there, where does he stand in defence? What do you use as fixed reference points? What influences? So I want to take us right back and just. I remember this happening when I coached the Wales in the 19s, and we lost to England, and the fullback was all over the shop. And I realised that, and the coach delivered, somebody like Lee Jones, who was doing my credit, said, well, have you told him where he's supposed to stand? Have you coached him? And I hadn't. I thought that I'd actually, that he should know as a fullback at that age, as an international under 19 player, that he should know where to stand. Because I played fullback and I was told by my schoolmaster where he thought I should stand. And I didn't. And I sat him down, and I sat every fullback after that down, and explained where I would like them to stand. So that's all I'm exploring here. So here's how, can you all see this? So that's the sort of shape. And I'm gonna just, so Ben has got one reference point with Paul. Anybody else got a reference point on this sort of shape? Going back to your question, right on my part of the field. That's a ruck ball, it could be a line out. That's the centre, here's your flat back line wheel. What reference points are you using in that instance if we're not looking to work as a back 3? Where would you go?
So tell them behind on the back line, but staying between the 15s, like Ben said, sort of following the ball.
So you were using the 15-metre line as your, so you was talking about there, yeah?
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
I think it's a good starting point, but later in the game, depending if these guys are going to be doing grubbers or long punts or not, you'd either drop forward or drop back.
So the game management,
the game.
Game management is huge. In terms of, you're right, it will change defensively when you think they're not going to kick, so we might be up in the defensive line. middle third, and
Because you're soon suss out whether the first five's got a boot on them or not, and or second five as well. Sorry, half-backs or whatever you guys call them.
yeah. So, what I'm trying to do here, there's lots of different opinions in the room. So, a kid is going to be very confused. So I'm just going to, this is an example, guys. In general, your reference point is the opposition 10. And I'll show you some footage now. And really, what the 15 is having to do is having to cover a box. If the back line is up flat, and we're assuming they're not working as a pendulum system, because that's quite complex, there's a lot of space to be covered. So, the 15...
And the 10s don't like tackling.
yeah, so the 15, ultimately as a guy in the backfield, has to be able to cover the blindside kick from a scrum half, and also a raking open side kick if the winger isn't pulled back. Would you agree? He's got a lot of space to. So the reference point is outside shoulder of the opposite 10. Yeah? No, I'm telling you that. And then you can then coach him to respond and start to know where he's at, and then we can take it a bit further. But if the 9 kicks, he will make this. He will make this kick. If he's got any further out and the winger's up, we're exposed. Does that make sense? If the ball is past a 10, then he can shape outside, and he's probably got a chance of making both sides as well. And going back to what Ben said, he then moves inside the ball just in case his line breaks or he's popped over the top on the open side. Of course, when the ball's moved, 14 would come into play and start to cover his backside there, or you'd have number 9 sweeping. Can I show you some examples? So my point on this one is you've got to give a kid at youth level a good reference point without the influence. So once he's got his reference points, then you can start to coach him how he manages the complex systems at the top end of the game where they pair up, they triple up, he goes up in the defensive third, he comes back in the attacking third, etc., etc. Does that make sense? But you need to give a kid a reference point so he can start to manage that, so he's his playmaker.
Does it not make it a bit easier if you drop the number of that?
Yeah, without a doubt it does. I'll show you some examples. No, without a doubt, but again, you've got to be working on your defensive system. As soon as, and I'll show you an example now at international level at Hong Kong, as soon as that happens, there's an edge to play to. If anyone's smart against you, they won't kick. They'll be playing the edge there and gaining ground. Now what happens in Hong Kong, and this for years, is that our wingers get away with that in club rugby, and particularly youth rugby. And so they do it, and so then the fullback starts to get out of position. As soon as we've got the level, and we play the Junior World Trophy, and we play Japan, we play at the senior level, they go and exploit those wings stand back. So they go and take space. So my point here is that at youth level, let's teach them good practice and build on the process. So let's take, I'm using this as one of the examples tonight where I see a lot of kids haven't got a clue where to stand, and then as a result of them all having a reference point, the wingers are the slide defence, sort of a blitz defence. So that's all I'm saying. At the stage you're at with kids, make sure they've got a fundamental position which is off the opposition 10, and they follow and move with the ball. Let me show you some examples of it.
Stop. I went in the screen. Up again.
Sorry.
And then to the right.
Oh, there
Here we go.
Correct. Luckily. So there, picking up the point, Ben Rimini normally plays 10. And this is Ben, full-back. It's a defensive third winger stood up because they couldn't play. He knows what he's doing, really slotting in on top of the slots and bed, but 10's in there. Max has stood up reasonably flat. So for me, he's in a good position to control and move. Would you agree? I think that's a pretty good picture from what we just discussed over there. He's actually almost certainly in line there. He's anticipated a kick the touch. So he's really protecting his interest. And he probably could move as well. If he was out here, then he's going to struggle to cover this kick here. Do you agree? Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
And they've played. So Max, it was critical that Max was up in the line on the wide outside. Look where Ben is still. He's covering that kick, yeah. Not a lot for them to play to. And there's the kick, and Ben is covering our blind side as well as the open side. Make sense? Feel that one? Why has he done that? See where he stood? There. What's he doing? He's anticipating crossfield kick, I guess. But then, if I ask Benny why he's doing it, no, the smart team put a space in your play good. So when you go up that level, they'll see that straight away. So 9 would be brilliant in the scrum, yeah? We've had a pull over. The space to play to is there. Or 10 kicking against the grain. For me, Benny's exposed it. Exposed us as a team. Do they see it? Probably not. Because this scrum was under pressure and Ben would probably say why he did it. But look at the space down the left-hand side of the field. We are very exposed yet. If Ben was stood where we talked about, in this sort of area, then he's controlling. He's completely detached from managing his blindside ring as well. And you could say they're internationals and they're smart, and they will. I'm just using this as an example. So take us back to kids.
Where's their winner? Is he way out on the right? Maybe that's why it's... Because we don't see the winger. That's just the centre and then the fullback, or is that?
Yeah, the winger could be out there. Yeah,
that's the only reason.
I might have been in it. The point I'm making, going back to fundamentals, we've got to start to coach the young kids to take that positional play up early and not get to the advance. Ben would sit there and the two wingers, because they're internationals, and they would sort of tell me probably why they're shaped like that. There might be even a yellow card, and they might be one down. And just using this as an example and say, look, I'm trying to say that let's try and coach our. And he actually kicked through it. That was bizarre. I think he kicked through it. Decent position here. He's able to be moved both ways. Look, there he is again now, so he's adopted a really wide slot here, like a back for it. Look how exposed we are. Positionally, we know where winger is. It's in the space. So I understand he's probably looking at the rating and he might be reading it, but again, in general, space you can't afford a junior level to level that. So just good fundamental coaches of back full back positional play, management back third. You okay with that? Yeah. Any other thoughts on that, guys? You all comfortable with that? So, This is an area that really frustrates the hell out of me. Does everybody understand what I mean by attack with the feet or against the feet? What side of the scrum? I know it sounds fundamental, guys. What side of the scrum do we put the ball in? What side of the scrum do we put the ball in?
Taking to the left.
So we always put it when we're attacking, it always goes in on the left hand side, yeah? Picture I see, ball goes in, and because there's one defender on the left hand side, parents start shouting from the side, come over to the 10, to the 15, come over to the left hand side, he's putting the ball in here, and they all run here. And then, so what I'm going to talk about now is how much easier it is, and you need to start to coach left and right hand scrums and explain to the kids exactly what that means. I'll show you something. So it's far, far easier to play left to right off a scrum, even if there's only a 15-metre channel down the right side. Come back against the grain is very difficult. Would you agree? Can you understand how, you know, ask yourselves how many of us have actually sat down with the, and I didn't, last couple of years. And then what happened when I did, the boys got it quite quickly, then parents shouted from the side, or dads are shouting from the side, come left, come left, come left. And I went, no, we want to go right. Because we practiced it. So it's not as easy to exploit space off a right to left scrum as it is left to right, and it's not as easy to cross the green line. I'll give you some pictures.
You also don't have the halfback to deal with.
Correct. So what I'm going to try to do now, all through these sections now, I'm just going to give you some pictures so we can sort of discuss that area. The halfback's not in play. So this is with the what I'm saying with the float. In on the left, dominant scrum. How easy it is, as you said, the half back's out, it's difficult for the back row, and we're into the midfield. Okay, good example with the front or with the feet. So there's your point. Look where the half back is. The opposition half back will begin completely. If Pony wants to come back down, he brings that half back into play. So I often see your parents shouting, they can see a bit of an overlap here, and he starts shouting to him to come and play this way. As soon as he plays this way, he leaves, flanker leaves, and before we know the space has disappeared. So playing with the feed. Yeah? Watch your effect, guys. So the left and space. We're on the game line already. And we're playing. There's a lot of space the other side, isn't there? It's still so much easier, particularly if you're playing with your 8. You wouldn't want your 8 really picking up and going back against the grain. So, again, can you see it, guys? If you actually, probably better if I go back to the...
So we've got now at all levels that is the halfback allowed to come around to where is it consistent throughout the age groups? Because we seem to have a change every couple of years. It's quite hard to.
No, he should stay in contact with the scrum.
Yeah, but he can't go past the second row's feet. We can't go past the channel, the feed channel, or
He shouldn't be in front of the ball. Shouldn't get in front of the ball.
So
The opposition half-back.
Yeah. So he can follow it right around. So if it's underneath the number 8's feet, he can come right round. Down.
Here at Mini Rugby, we'll stop them at the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then at 14
So many
above,
rugby's under 11 years and under, or 12 years and
12
under.
is under, stop at the tunnel. Every other age group in line with World Rugby laws said follow the ball. Yeah, till now to the second row, that changed
We're just
last year.
transitioning to this one now, and that's
Yeah.
why. Just double
Yep,
check.
so that's why.
Alright.
Yep,
So,
it's really confusing.
the main point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of space for this group to play into, and a lot of coaches and parents see that. So they immediately are asking the 9, even though, because it's a blind side, 9 times out of 10 in youth rugby, you see them try to pass to 10, rather than setting the game in momentum. So that's all I'm saying, you can play with the flow down the short sides. And it's easy to, particularly at 8 to 9. And these are the classic examples of where I'm shouting from the side as a coach. Play with Jim, who's my fullback. You know, Pony play with Jim, Liam play with Jim. And the outside ass parents and the centres are shouting, you know, feed it out to Daniel, so because they're seeing different pictures. And that's all I'm saying is that, that's all we're saying is start the coach wide. You play left and right at the start. And how much easier it is with the flow. Joe, well, so Thomas Lambert just picks up, feeds, and we're over the game line and playing. It's the feed. And centre field. For me, every time you use level, play with the flow, play with the feed. Come back to that one about slots and again last one. Look at the half back is out of the game. Easy game line. Easy momentum. Again last one I think. So again easy pass already. Easy to play in midfield. Yeah, without a doubt. But that's a great point. But that is the exact time where you should play with a non-dominant scrum. It's easier to play with the flow. So I couldn't find really very good ARC guys, but we were dominant in the scrum. But even in the situations of multiple power in junior rugby, going with the flow with a weak scrum is you should go there every time. Yeah.
Right, it's key to that because their half-back is stranded on the other side if you're going with the flow.
Yeah, and basically, if you could imagine, I'll show you some against the flow. But going against the flow brings the half-back back into play and the blind side flanker, and then the very immediately. Where one pass going away with the flow gets you outside the open side flanker and away from the half-back. Does that make sense? But also, under the dominance going to put in, and the kid, think about the skills. The kid is going with the ball. He's going and he's just sweeping away with the ball. Make sense? Where here he's putting in, he's got to get in, you feel young, he's got to get in here, he's got to twist. Often you see a kid going exposes pass, which is almost. So it's bad. As long as they understand, does that make sense?
Yep.
Playing left to right, playing right to left.
But the issue at Colts may be that most kids are right-handed as well, so actually it's a difficult pass to go up going with the flow.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, that's where the old right pass in my time came from, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
But it's true, yeah. They'd rather
So
go
you
in and
don't
spin
make
the pass that way,
Yeah.
rather than because they're mostly dominantly right-handed.
So my point was, you've got to say that's the way you're going to play, force them to do it. But naturally, they want them to.
No, so that's a good point, yeah. It's off that we can, but again, because they're going with the ball rather than flicking it out to 10, rather than just getting out the early and playing spin.
It's just practice.
Yeah. Let's have just a couple of examples of. The reason I put that one in there was just showing pressure.
full shift, like
Pressure. It's just to show you the pressure that Liam is under if he even wanted to play. So he didn't have a lot of option there. You can see the play with the foot, he couldn't play back against it. And it's easy game now. It's going to help when you want to play. But again, not. And that's another skill to develop is to play against the flow. So he's flicking it down.
He's giving him space.
Giving him space, yeah. There's a different picture. One dominant all the time. Little spaces, half backs in play, where the scrum was poor. Immediately, Liam's under pressure, does well here to get the ball away, but we're getting squeezed in enough and we work really hard to get game line. Didn't have an option there because we were on 5 metre. There wasn't an option to play left to right, so we will have to come back against the game. See how difficult it is for Jamie now to come up, he's standing off. This is what tends to happen. They want space if they want to play back. So half-backs are asking them to the left. They give them space like we saw Kane doing a bit earlier. But again, we're under pressure. As soon as Kane picks up, he's under pressure from the 6 or the 7 in this case, and the half-back. And we're struggling to take the ball out of the penalty. Well, we got rid of it. You can see huge potential penalty situation. So that's back to the original one. We're okay with that, guys. So that's just again a little quirk in terms of I don't think we address this early enough for kids, and particularly they're influenced by players and coaches shouting from the side. Don't understand it's easier to play with the scrum or than against it. So that's just another little coaching thing that I'm seeing a lot of not being addressed in. Yeah, and he slots 1, 2 and 3. We got our hand out, see? Oh, sorry. Just don't get the hand out. Another big area in coach strength, I think, in terms of we're not seeing any, we don't see width from the game until the kids are about 17, 16, 17, 18, because one pass, 2 pass. In general, I'm talking percentage now, I'm talking in wide. So I'm just going to give you a word I've used for years, and Steve's going to hand it out now. I'm going to talk about attacking depth using the terminology slots 1, 2, and 3, so you can check information on. If you have a look at the handout, and just have a quick look, I've given a diagram on there, and the statements that are in terms of what you can do up with 1 and what you can do up with 2 are statistically based. So what I'm suggesting from your handout, if you just look at the diagram, the sort of triangular diagram on the top grid, that one there, that's my slots 1, 2 and 3. Does that make sense to you? In terms of, there's the game line from a ruck, scrum, ball, whatever it might be. Slot 1, and then if you look at the definition, basically we're taking the line. The half-back, the first receiver, is taking the line. So we only try to play 1 pass until we get, well, we're driving out feet and we go over game line. It's impossible, almost impossible to play wide in slot 1, but it is impossible for a young kid without dummy runners and all sorts of intricacies. So in general, if you've got 10 that doesn't recoil off a ruck or more after a play and stays up in 1, you're never going to play wide. Without stupidly outrageous missed passes. So I'm trying to get you to visualize now 16, 17, 18-year-olds, 14, 15. So that's why this is cause and effect. If you can't play a wide game and you can't play edges, it's because your outside arm, this guy is actually stood up in 1 all the time. So he's only ever going to bring a big forward off his shoulder, or going to take the line himself, or do a scissors, dummy drop, or whatever it may be. Does that make sense? I'll show you some footage. If he plays in 2, you do everything. That's my everything. So sorry, the last one in 1 can't kick. Because 85% of the time, if a player or first receiver kicks in slot 1, it gets charged down. The only success we're going to have, he manages to dribble it through between the set of legs. But even then, 85% of the time it's normally a foot out because he's not got time on the ball and the space is closed out. So you don't kick in 1. Again, I'm talking about juniors, and yes, you'll see Dan Carter perhaps kick in 1, and you might see Johnny Wilkinson, and you might see top quality players, but in general, you'll see him playing in 2. 2, you can do everything. It's my favourite slot.
And 1, I mean, so often the kids are offside, it's the reason why. They've got assistant lines and then all that, so you want to be 2 at least.
You want to be 2, yeah. So in terms of the game, the only time you ever go there is when you want to take the line. When you want to. But how do we get them back? You know, there's only reference points because again, that's all I'm shouting on as a coach is slot, get into 1, get back into 1. Get back into 2. You're up in 1. So you need brief terminology from the side to be able to tell the kids where they are. Because they'll get to half time and the wingers will get on the full back and say, Jesus Christ, I'm not getting a pass. So if you go reference from point 1 when you go on as coach, you take on the water or you're shouting from the side, you know, these are reference points. So in 2 passes and wide, you can play sit in there. We can then go into 1 if we want to go and take the line. But we can't get back into 2 if we're up in 1 and the ball's coming out at the base of a ruck. So you can go from 2 to 1 on front foot and you can say, yeah, sorry, this I'm going to go and take the line, there's nothing on out wide. But if you're sat in 1, you're never going to pull out to play wide. You try an outrageous pass because the winger or the full-back is shooting. And then 3 is where most of the 10s in my day played, slotting right in behind the ruck or wall, or behind the scrum, and then try and run it. But then you couldn't out there because it wasn't particularly dangerous and there wasn't particularly that many flankers about. So it's what I call the slot of the pocket. And we try to discourage any 10s from being in there. When do you think the only time 10 goes in there should go in there? Yeah, okay. So you slot in, and you see Matt slot in, he's 22 and a couple of clips. Into 3, really the only option in 3 is to kick. Now, how many of your kids can kick well at under 16 and below? Not a massive amount. So as soon as you see a kid go into 3 from 2, he limits his option to kick in, but often you try and run out of the slot. And as a result, what happens, he gets caught, or the next pass goes to the centre, who then gets smashed by his opposition because he's slotted in. And plus the fact he will have, if he's slotted into 3, on the diagram there, got pressure from both sides of the set piece coming at you, the ruck or more, because both sides are in play. With 2 and 1, when you're one side of the attacking ruck or more, or scrum is in play. Again, I'll show you some footage to try and emphasise the points of all. So I'll look at 1. Yeah, so that's something 1-1 pass, where should you go in? You've already seen this, but what happens? He tries a second pass, he's 1. Okay, so he's passing to someone with the defender in his face, the pass wasn't particularly good. That's a 1 slot. Again, in general, you can sit there and debate whether it was right or wrong, but in general, that's the kind of thing that happens when you try to force the game when you're up in 1. A mistake is made. So up in 1, just carrying it up, momentum. And again, that in one is frenetical in that area, so it's got to be one pass. That was just a poor pass. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it that you can see. I'm trying to give you an image now of if a first receiver is standing in one, you're not going to go wide. Or if you try to go wide, it's going to be a mistake, 85 to 90% of the time.
Yeah, most of the kids are only seeing what's in front of them, so that
Exactly, they're just seeing what's there. So unless you've got a reference point, we don't video with kids' games and certain level, so you've got to start to take pictures, and that diagram uses I use cones. I put the cones down and I get them flowing. And shape that, put that shape on the pitch, just to monitor where they're standing. Does that make sense? So they start to get a reference point. There we go, that was on to shift it really, but again he's up in one, he's had to cut back in some. So I'm just giving you a picture of what one looks like. Mark was in 1.5 there, he flowed, he decided to go and play it, and he just offloaded into a runner. That's okay, he was in 1.5, and look at the momentum he's got. This is probably the best example. And there's a good example there, again, they decided that he's in 2. He's in 1.5, 2. Otherwise he could have played wide. He should have played wide probably. But he could have actually exploited the runner, and look how they jammed in. So he's got the option to do, he chose to go flat. He chose to flow from 2-ish to 1.5 to bring a runner onto it. As a result of him being slightly deep on it, we get caught on the gain line. Just poor tackling allows us to get over it.
passes going behind you.
Yeah, when we were putting this together, we were talking about. Again, I'm just giving you a picture of what we mean by one. Are you okay with that, guys? Yeah. Let's have a look at some more depth and what can happen. Definitely in 2 there, isn't he? They don't play it, if you remember, they go down the blind side. That was an example of 2. Again. 2. Well, again, the problem you have when you're coaching kids is that now with the increases again, we're running blockers and flat players out wide to create more space. But I encourage you at the moment to stop and go into that level at 15, 16, 17 and actually just play the simple stuff. Slot it at a depth where we can handle the ball wide. And then introduce the runners when they get to understand flow and depth. At the moment, you'll see a lot of block running. They'll watch the TV on the weekends and they'll come up with 3 great little plays, and it'll always be block runners, dummy loops, etc. because they've seen it on the box. And there's a good momentum, you can off play. So they dummy runners fixing, but irrespective of that, Matt is playing and he's able to kick out there as well. So he's got time to kick on the front foot. So okay, so Matt is over his depth, our 10's over his depth, and he's able to put a good kick. Probably 1.5. And the reason so he's sort of 1.5 there, isn't he? But look at his movement, takes him into 1. Look what we've got out wide. So if he sits in 2 and just pulls up, so he's actually, his flow, his movement is taking him into 1. He sits on it a bit and distributes to second runner. Look at that, so you isolate this runner here, if he sits out of it, and then there's a 3-on-1 out wide. But because we've cracked up into one, we brought one defender into play. So I'm just trying to build pictures for you. Okay with that? So slots 1, 2 and 3. And that's just again, he's out in 2 there. See it, but we do a wrap round instead of just playing. So again, that's just on his line one. But the slot is using slot 2 for a bit more depth so we can play wide. Last one. Here's the old classic. Mark is on the top, straight in. So there's 3. I'll give you a good picture of 3. Just in terms of similar description, you can imagine now and again, watch it for the kids. See the pressure from both sides of the rack, from both sides of the contact area. Often kids will dummy there and play. They'll either put this guy in ball, and then they'll play back this way with this link coming out. You cannot run it at 3. If somebody's in there, it's going to have to kick. Good picture there in terms of slots, guys, yeah? If we can then go to the bottom sheet, so if we can just quickly look to the board, it's just shape, attacking shape. It's not just backline shape, it's attacking shape of set piece. I was brought up as a 10, and I'd stand there, and they go, come on boys, I see my teacher telling me now, come on boys, come back a bit, come back a bit. My hand would be like that, and I'd be stood on the 22, and my wing I'd be stood back on my own 10-metre line, because I had a great perfect straight line, a bit like this. Does that make sense? Now again, I'm watching this in club rugby. Have a look next time you're playing a game. Have a look where your 10 stood, and have a look where your full-back and winger are stood. And if they are stood 30 metres apart, there's something wrong with your alignment. That's all I'm saying. So, I won't go too much into flow tonight. I'm big on the FETS principle, which is on the bottom of the screen, and that's for another day and more advanced in terms of the coaching and understanding. But I'm big on flow. As Mark Wright will know, I used to absolutely lay somewhere 9 years ago, so I haven't reinvented anything. And the flow is the movement of each player. When should my 13 move? Go on, Mark, when should my 13 move? You remember?
15, when the guy inside goes out.
Yeah, so what we find is that kids will look at 9. And they'll all be looking in like that. And as soon as the 9 picks up the ball, irrespective of whether it's him, or him, you start running off the pass. They'll all move off the pass of 9. Make sense? Well, Mark is just saying flow, and I'm sorry, technically then, a backline, you might not be aware, but try it. If this guy is running 20% of his natural pace, to keep up with him on this alignment, the next guy's got to run 30% of this guy's pace. In order to keep up with it, so backline gains in momentum off 9 and 10. So if your 9 and if your 10 and your 12 are running too fast, they leave these guys behind. Totally and utterly. So, in terms of flow, first of all, this alignment is old-fashioned and it just will not work. Hence, I've given you a shape they call it, what I call a half-moon shape. So that allows adjustment and that allows forgiveness in a youth backline. This doesn't. So if these two run too quick those three guys are left behind and they're not involved in the play. If we've got a half moon shape, in that sort of shape there, these guys are engaged and can be engaged. Even if these guys get their timing and their running lines wrong, or their pace. And again, at youth level, have a look in Hong Kong, the dominant players tend to be in 10s and 12s and they've gone at the gate. So start to control the running pace of your 10 and 12, even if you want to bring forwards on. And change the shape to the half moon shape. Make sense? The one thing I was talking about to Mark, and Mark identified, the players, 10 should move off 9, 12 should move off 10, 13 should move off 12, so hold them, picture them. So it's a ripple effect. We must do hours and hours of analysis on this. So keep an eye on your unit of 3, and if a ball's coming to me as a 10, 13 shouldn't be moving. As I move, 12 moves. As 12 moves, 13's move. But too often, and this is your reference point, too often, we see 13 and 15 moving off the pass from 9. And often, it will be because they're aligned like this and they're frightened of being left behind.
Yeah, and the 10s and 12s have to run across field
to get to them.
catch up. That's what they're doing.
So I'm just giving you a little shape, don't play around with it. Stop kids going there, because it has two effects. One, they get left behind. Two, they run too early because they're frightened of getting left behind with the inside backs. Use that shape and it'll give you more control, and actually control the running pace of 10 and 12 in terms of your functionality of the back line. Play around with it. And what I would say to you guys is work it in 4s initially. Just work little drills where you get 9 picking up, and so you can see 4 kids working together, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 doesn't move until 1 is moved, etc., etc. So don't do it as a backline initially. Just do it in small units. Then what you can start to slot in your running forwards as well. So forwards that want to come in, you can come in off 10 and off wide as well. But the big message is please, please, please stop the 9 and 10 running away with the game, running up into 1, go to take the line. Any questions on that? Quick, comfortable on that?
Just the steep one, but that's harder, but that's, you saying that's like out of date, or that's impermissible at elite level?
It's out of date, completely out of date. It doesn't happen at any level, in my opinion, and evidence suggests. It's because well, there's another question. How fast do you want your winger running when he receives the ball? If only answers.
Would you want that pace? Would you want the winger at pace?
Yeah, so if we're going on percentages, again, this is something that I say to the kids. If 100% is flat out, when he receives the ball off 15 or 13, how fast do you want him running?
No more than 70, 75%, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say why?
Because you've got to control the ball, you've got to be able to catch it, and at this level they've got to be able to do that and run at the same time, and look for the gap and or the outside shoulder.
So you're talking about control, skill control, and deception. If he's running flat out, when's the only time you want him running flat out?
Once he's got the ball there.
Or 2 versus 1 when he's running 1 in, so he's being put away 2 versus 1 when you want him full tilt. But other than that, he's going to have to use deception, step in. He's not going to do that flat out. He might, if he wants to go and take the line, but so therefore, the control of these guys, so that alignment, going back to what we said, means that these guys have to run nearly flat out just to keep up with the back line. Because of if these guys are running at 30 or 40% and are going out to the gate, these guys are playing catch up and they're absolutely taking the ball at 90-95% of their running pace. And I don't want to go into too much, that's the flow bit, the engagement and the effects, it's the next level. But the key message being is the shape. You can work with the shape, everything's on. If you look at that shape, there's a miss one on, there's a mammy, there's come flat, everything's on with that shape. And you get a parent shouting at the winger now saying, you're standing in front of 15. So be careful that they don't. But you will get You would get a lot of people going, get deeper, get deeper. Does that make sense? But that's archaic and just doesn't work. Kids don't get engaged. That engages the kids. And that's it. Okay, the final sort of area, I just want to show you some examples of. I'm going to get there, which I'm going to go into. Everything that we talked about tonight and everything that we talked about in the really, really biggest deal is we really got to start to make the game in Hong Kong sexy for the kids to keep them in it. We've got to make it enjoyable. And I can't emphasize enough, guys, that it's got to be done through games. I'm going to show you some examples of just generic games where they play shape, and I'm going to talk to you now about the last 5 or 10 minutes about how you can coach 14, 15, 16-year-olds fun games, but while also giving them game understanding. And again, game of touch rugby is great to warm up, structured touch, but as coaches now in coach, start to adapt those games of touch and grab to home in on skills like your slots. Start to talk about depth. So if in your game of touch, your 10 is playing up in 1 all the time, start to have your reference points, so you're playing up in 1, we can't play wide, we've got an overlap. So stuff that we've done today, if outside you've got a backline that's deep, start to embed stuff through game situations that will be then learned and understood later in like I said, life, later in their youth careers. So from 13, 14 years of age, start to use games for understanding. But they might not easily understand when they're 15 or 16, but because you've embedded it and you've talked about 1 and 2 and shape, and you talk about numbers in the contact area, you've done it through games and they'll understand it when their minds are developed enough to take that on board. So I'm just going to give you some examples of some of the stuff that Ben and Ricky would have been involved in, and I'm just going to talk out, and you have your own drills. So if I can look at minus the guys in the room, so this is 7 versus 5. This is the front 5. What do you think? If you say anything, what do you think the drill is trying to achieve here? So you've got 8 darks, I think 8 or 9, 8 I think it is, isn't it? Yeah. And then 5 reds. What do you think the drill is going to try to look to achieve? Any ideas?
Use the width. Use the width.
Go on, extend on it. Yeah.
Just work on one way, work on the other, just tire them out, and then use the space either side.
Spot on, playing edges. So the concept here is to, you can argue slot 1 and 2. So if they go and play slot 1 all the time, they're going to bring these 5 into place. The drill is now to swing them back and forth and play edges to try and get around the defence. So that brings in slots, and it brings in now spatial awareness, communication from out wide. Yeah, they are trying to work the front 5 harder as well, yeah? They are actually doing fitness sessions for the front 5 defensively. But I'm looking at the attacking options. So let me just, so the idea from the attacking perspective, so they've got the edge there, they've got momentum, pull them in, they've squeezed them. Where was he? Where was our first receiver? In 1. Look, it's a 2-man overlap. If he sat back a little bit, see how we can start the coaching again? About principles we've just talked about. So, if I go back and just so you've got a picture. Can't see who it is actually. Guy in white shorts in 1. Look at the space here. There's the end red man. And there's how it, see, he's gone up in 1. As a result. 1 defender is defended 2 of them. The drill is more about working the reds. So again, And out then taking one. Just exploiting space. Got an example of 8 versus 5 and how they can have good fun, but while you're also coaching certain aspects of what we talked about earlier. I'm going to whiz through quite a few here. So, more of a sort of competitive drill. I know that the guys are working on a new formation and system here. They're working on a square system, but you don't need to get into that. The point, that's all this is just one of your drills to improve handling. They're working on a set sequence around the first receiver here, something they're introducing for the World Cup. The point is here, that's all they do is taking pictures here and making sure that they're doing handling, and then they'll recycle and do it again, recycle and do it again. But there's an element of fun and competitiveness as well, because these guys don't want to be done. These guys don't want to be fixed. So making it competitive as well. So this is handling, this is the mini section. So you're splitting them into units, you're using 4 or 5 backs against some forwards. And they're just trying to 6. And again, yeah, 4 versus 5 versus 3. Looking at options. Real simple stuff. Exploiting space all the time, yeah? Nothing too high level, just going through and homing those sort of heads up and spatial awareness and hitting space. Just another example. Six versus 6. So, what do you think? Well, sorry, I'll play it and then I'll ask the question. What do you think the drill is? 6 on 6. What are you trying to achieve from the receiver? Want to repeat it again? Probably the first clip is the best one to indicate the drill, what the drill is doing. First couple. Six on 6, mate. It is 6 on 6. Any thoughts?
Every time they drop out, they make spaces.
Yeah. So the 6 attacking 6 are trying to exploit space. But they don't know where the space is until the coach is giving out. I think, Ben, if I'm right, you numbered up ones,
so,
twos.
No, yeah, depending on the number, the 6 on 6 would be 1s and 2s. So they'll show 1 to drop, and then the 6 attackers try and attack the spaces with the 1s and drop.
So you could have 3 numbers in a set of 6, you could have 2 3s, 2 1s, 2. So, but on this instance, there was just 2 numbers in both sides. So 3 of them were numbered at 1s, 3 of them were numbered at 2s in both sides. So if the coach shouts 1s, as the ball's thrown out, and then the 1s drop to the try line, and the other team are turning around, and then it's 6 attacking 3, and they're supposed to be attacking the space. Again, a good heads up drill, and again, good drill decision making also, guys. Now the fitness drill as well, and I think probably some of these are being used for your conditioning. So a good conditioning drill while also working towards on their handling and spatial awareness. Again, spatial awareness drill. But notice what ball they're playing with, guys. Playing with a soccer ball, yeah. That's differential learning, so they're using different balls as well, rugby balls, soccer balls, tennis balls. So they're using different balls to play with as well. So again, exploiting space, looking to up in 2, didn't pass it. Again, a conditioning element to it. this one. No, I won't pull that one out first. I'll put this one on first. So this is, I couldn't find good footage of this. I know we've got a lot. But this is the kind of game that I would encourage at youth level. You use a lot to inbuild good habits and good structures and game understanding, particularly when the boys are 13, 14, 15, 16, girls 16. But what was happening here is that the principles of play, so if I can play it through, that's all we are looking for. So what we're looking for maybe two, I think it's one in this instance, but let me relay what I would be doing with under 16 team now in this drill. So when they go to contact, I want to see 2 men over the ball before, so when I see good present on the floor, so skills touch. So it's a grab touch, go to the floor, it's a good present, and there's 2 guys over the ball. The 9 can't come in behind it and you can play away until last 10. So there's one element of coaching. We've decided as a group that we're going to exploit the width and we're going to play mainly off 10 in slot 2. So what I'm looking for is a contact area, half back goes in, feeds 10, and either brings a runner on off him or we're going to play wide. And we're going to keep going that same way until we've exploited the space. So now we start to inbuild structure without them knowing it. So as soon as they come back against the green, because they've seen the space this side, no guys, we're playing structured touch. I know you want to come back because your mate shouted I haven't had the ball for 5 minutes, but you can start to coach structure in 14 and 15 without actually statically putting them at the scrum. So you've got to run there, to run there, to run there. So you can do it through touch. Let me see if some of it, I'm going to film, I was talking to, so there we go, in, keeping it alive, down. So I think in this instance they decided somebody's got to latch on, and so you see the guy went in, before you could go to the floor you needed a support player there, latched on, half back in, and then he's in 2 and we want to play wide. So that's, he's just playing the same way. I just tried to build a picture of how you could do it. Next pass, out in the wide channel, down, there's the one player over the ball, so the half back can play back. Now I know they've got to shape their system to get a game going again from the wide channel. Only to get into that, it's something you might have to consider. So it might be you decide when you're coming back, you don't want to play off 10, it might be off the forward. So when you've gone wide into the wide channel, the first runner then coming back has to be a forward. But this can be just developed through games of touch. So that when they see it on a Saturday, maybe in a game of 15 on 15, 14s, under 14s, or under 16s and 18s level, you start to see a picture. Doing 20 minutes of this, but you've got to be coaching, guys. You've got to be coaching in it. So there's a pullback. It's more complex, so I can see what's happening. But can you see, guys? So they are basically building in. Just one more time. There, footwork in. Leg drive, ball over, ball away into slot 2. Going to play wide, into the wide channel. Man in. And there's the pullback. He had the option to push something short, but he pulled it back with 10. And in a similar situation, how often do we do this? So, what are they practicing? What are they using in?
Shields and boxes.
So they're practicing their kick, clearance and their kicking. How often do we do that? So we go into a game at youth level, and I can see that I hope he kicks this, how quickly is it? 10 minutes, game of touch, kicking touch, coach it. So these guys know what they're doing, they're working patterns, but in general this is a game of 2-phase, 3-phase touch where they look for kicking options. If you want to coach kicking options to your 14, 15, 16-year-olds, other than being static and set piece stuff. So don't be afraid to adapt structured touch to kicking game as well as shape. The other thing you get in there, guys, as well, and this is important to the time you have probably, if you have an hour and a half with the kids a week training, and be surprised when the season's up and running because you've got games you haven't got kids space. Defensive chase. So again, you're working a kicking game there, and I talked about the attacking kicking game or defensive clearing, but also the kick chase. So it's kicked, and then you start to work with the chase and then alignment and coming up together. So you start to be able to coach a lot more through games in a short space of time, which is important, and the kids enjoy it more. That's it from me, guys, in terms of, I hope that there's lots more that I can do with Steve over the coming weeks, if you're interested. I think it's easier with a group like yourselves to show footage and sort of give shape and some handouts and Steve to then take you up on the south side of the roof and take you all through, 4 versus 5 and 6 versus 60. You can do all that as part of the courses. What I just tried to do tonight is just give you some examples of what I believe that are fundamentals to a young kid that we miss out often. So that positional play, line shape, slots 1, 2 and 3, and then how we can coach them and how we can use games to make it enjoyable. And the big one is the game understanding through games like this. But what I promise I'll do, I'll pull up some better footage of actually games where we're actually in real good shape in terms of the structure of playing the same way, half-backs in slot 1, 2 and 3, 2 into the contact area, presentation skills, and how you can coach how you coach holistic skills development and shape and game understanding through touch and grab. And I pull that footage off, Steve. I just couldn't find it over the last couple of weeks. I've lost all my hard drives. Sorry. But I think it's a good time to refilm it, Steve. I think that's a big area that we need to feed. Any questions? Is there any questions, guys? Or did it make sense? I hope it did. It's been a story of an hour. I hope it's up. Please, be really quiet. I hope I go back to our selection process as well. I hope we've given a different insight into picking players as well. And how we assess players, particularly when they're 13, 14, 15. Thank you.
Thanks,